Every Formula One race starts with this weird ritual. Teams blast dry ice fog into their car. It looks dramatic, but it's not just for show. Cold air actually makes an engine stronger, and here's why. Cold air is more dense, and denser air means more oxygen in the same volume. More oxygen means you can burn more fuel, and that usually means more power. So the obvious question is, if cold air helps so much, why don't we keep it cold all the time? I'm going to answer this in 2 steps. First, the ideal physics, and then the real-world trade-offs, and we'll assess whether it actually makes any car faster. First, the physics. If pressure stays roughly the same in a basic gas, density goes up when temperature goes down. Picture a room full of people, and we turn the temperature of the room down. Well, they will all start to get cold and huddle closer together, so now more people can fit in the same room. Cold air is exactly the same. But now let's imagine we keep filling the extra space with more and more people. Well, the heat from everyone with no room to spare starts to heat the room rapidly. This is doubly important in modern F1 because of the turbocharger. A turbo works by crushing air into the engine, but when you compress a gas, it gets hot, extremely hot. Air leaving a turbo can easily hit 150 degrees. So, how do cars stay cool? F1 cars already have intercoolers, radiators that use outside air to cool that charge down, but an intercooler is limited. It can only ever get the engine air down to the same temperature as the air outside. So if it's a hot day in Bahrain, your engine intake is stuck at hot temperatures. Cooling the air sounds like a cheat code, right? So why don't they do it? Well, they do. Kind of. Dry ice is used on the grid, but not because it magically makes the car faster forever. Instead, it's used because the car gets heat soaked. Everything under the bodywork becomes a heater. The engine, the radiators, the pipes, and the intake is just sitting there absorbing it. So teams cool the intake area on the grid to stop the engine starting the race already breathing hot, thin air. But once the car is moving, the airflow helps naturally, unless we try to force it even colder. So, what happens if we try to keep it sub-zero during the race? Refrigeration isn't just cold air, it's a machine. You need a compressor, a heat exchanger, a coolant circuit, and these all weigh things. For a simple test, I modeled a conservative refrigeration system as 25 kilograms and added that to a car in a simulator to experiment this. And there's a second penalty that's even more important. A compressor doesn't run for free, it needs power. So I also applied a parasitic loss, basically the fridge stealing energy from the engine, around 30 to 40 horsepower. So now we've got a proper trade. More density, but more weight and a tax on power. Does the cold air still win on lap time? On the straight, the fridge car feels incredible. It pulls harder, it holds speed for longer, and the top ends look better. But when you arrive into a heavy braking zone, the car feels heavier and resists turning. Because extra weight doesn't just slow acceleration, it makes every direction change harder. Braking, turning, transitions, everything costs more. And across the line, the fridge car is slower. It bought speed on the straight and paid it back everywhere else. So if a literal fridge isn't the answer, how do F1 cars still get cooling benefits without carrying a fridge? This is where it gets interesting. F1 engines do get a cooling effect. They just do it in a way that costs almost nothing in weight. They use the fuel itself. When the fuel is injected, it goes from liquid to gas. That phase change absorbs heat like sweat evaporating off your skin. And the genius is where it happens, inside the cylinder, right when the air is about to be used. In racing, power is valuable, but weight is everywhere. And a lighter car with enough power almost always beats a heavier car with more.